Hi, everybody. We're just waiting to get started here in the next 5 minutes or so. We're just making some chat. We have Mr. Rodriguez on the line today, and Mrs. Wood has some sick kids to deal with, so she may not be actually interacting very much, if at all. That's okay. And just some reminders for everybody. If you missed last week's episode, it is posted on the YouTube channel, and you can enjoy moments where I am totally befuddled as I'm trying to deal with like phone calls and text messages and my kids and everything all happening at once while I'm trying to explain something. So I think it's kind of entertaining, but there's some good stuff in there. Anybody that's on the line not participate last week? I think I recognize everybody, although some of those might have just been bots. Okay, thanks, Ethan, for letting us know. Yeah, one of the running jokes was that there were about 25 people online, or maybe it was 30 or something, and they were just sitting there and not interacting, and we were convinced they were just bots. And we caught a couple of people not paying attention. But this is your last chance before the big competition on Friday. So we are hoping everyone that's here really cares and is going to take advantage of this time. Also, Mr. Rodriguez and I are starting to look ahead to beyond this, getting to the semifinals and helping those teams really do well in those semifinals. So, you know, we love to see participation in these GoToMeetings. It shows us that you guys care. Although Landon's not, I see this, the chat, and I don't see Landon online today. So Landon needs to put his bot on. And that I see Rin's bot is on. It just said hello. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. Wanted everybody to see these scores, help motivate you again. And I don't really have charts to go through today. I was just going to use the time to hopefully do better than last time going through these CIS benchmarks. And especially if people have questions on the line today, because Mr. Rodriguez is on there too, he can help answer some questions, get you guys ready for the next competition. So I see Aren says, yes, I am a bot.
I'm back.
I'm sending a bot message to Aren's bot right now. I think I got the command right. Still not sure. Not responding. It worked. All right, it's 7 o'clock. I guess I'll start the recording. And see. Oh, it's already being recorded. Mr. Wood, thank you. Okay, hello everybody. We are having the big competition tomorrow, and I think all of you know the routine by now, when to show up and such. This is the state round, and we're going to be, I'm estimating 4 teams of our teams that we have are going to advance to the next round. So I'm pretty excited. If we make more than 4, I'm going to be really impressed. So I'm hoping all you guys are planning on pushing it. It's going to be a tough slug for the platinum teams, but I do think we have some real potential in the gold, because we're so high on the gold end of things. I think we have some real potential to move forward. So anyway, good luck to you all on that. Ms. Wood, is there anything? I know she may not be able to talk because she's dealing with sick kids, but just in case, are there any last minute announcements for tomorrow that you want to make?
No, I think everybody knows what they're doing, so we'll be good to go.
All right, very good. Okay, and for those of you who joined a little bit late, Mr. Rodriguez is on the line, and we're gonna go through some of this. So, and let's see, is our president on the line and vice president? I see Isaac. And any announcements from the executives of the club? Any suggestions, last minute suggestions? Don't give up. Irene is saying, don't give up. And I think Isaac might, oh, there's Isaac. Can we exchange scoring reports? You mean during the competition or previous ones? During the competition, absolutely not. It's against the rules, and it's against your what you swore as your code of conduct. And as coaches and mentors, we are not allowed to let you guys do that either. So please don't do that. It'll be a fair competition. Let's have fun and do good. All right. So from last week, many of you participated, and one thing I didn't do very well was go through some real, oh, okay, sorry, Isaac, I'm gonna answer your question. From previous ones, you're welcome to share from previous competitions, if your scoring reports. Ashley said no? Okay, well, actually, I'm not sure then. Now I don't know. I thought it was okay to share previous scoring reports, but maybe I got that wrong. Okay. Anyway, I wasn't going to go over this again, but I'm going to go back to the Cyber Patriot Drive and last week's meeting, just to, because last week we didn't, I messed up in trying to go through some of the CIS benchmarks. I wanted to do it one more time, and that way you guys would have a chance to see how to actually use the CIS benchmarks to come up with a fix for vulnerability. So just for fun, though, I wanted to ask some questions. Within the CIS benchmarks, does anybody remember what the, oh, sorry, there's another question out there. Should we go over the whole thing in the competition? They are pretty long. Brennan, I would say Hey, thank you, Brennan. Category 1 is what you want. You want to start with category 1, and really, a lot of the stuff that's on the CIS benchmarks, you're probably already going to have done or have thought about. So the idea is this is going to stimulate your memory, and it's going to give you instructions on how to fix it. So let's take a look. And this time, instead of trying to do Windows 2016, Server 2016, I'm doing Windows 10. So I'm running on a Windows 10. So I'm just going to run it on this machine, which is not a virtual machine, but it should work. So here we go. So here's the one I download, the CIS benchmark for Windows 10 Enterprise. Now, turns out we're probably not using Windows 10 Enterprise, but we are going to be using a version of Windows 10, probably Windows 10 Professional, during the competition. So a lot of stuff is going to be similar, but it's not going to necessarily be exact. So let's just go with what we got. All right. So here's a benchmark. If you open it up within like a PDF reader, you can just look at the table of contents and already get some ideas. So here's the first one. Ensure password history is set to 24 or more passwords. And it has a L1, so L1 is level 1. So what you can do is, instead of paging through it, you can just click on it, boom, and it takes you to it. It gives you a description what it's about, and it says what the recommended setting is, 24 or more passwords. So it gives you the rationale, and then it says how do you remediate? That's what you need to do. So it says for remediation, to establish the recommended configuration via GP. Does anybody remember what GP stands for? Anyone out there? Any of you bots? Yes, group policy. Group policy. Thank you, Melina. A real live person, I think. Well, how do you open group policy? Well, let's try and type in the search here, group policy, and it says edit group policy right here. Well, that's pretty nice. Or GP edit. Thank you, Ethan. Really, by clicking on that, I get GP edit open, and I already had it open, so it didn't open again. Let me close that again, and I'll type GP edit. There it is. Or you can do group policy and click on this. Same thing. It opens up. Now, what it's saying is use the following UI path. Does anybody know what UI stands for? User interface, thank you. And Ethan's throwing out there, best choice is to right-click the home button and select computer management. It lets you access a bunch of tools at once. The home button, right here, computer management, the start button. And then computer management here, you have the you have many things you can access directly. But over here, so the group policy, we've got it open. This is local users and groups. Okay, group policy. It's saying policies, Windows settings. So now I'm looking at this Windows settings here. And then security settings. So there's another subfolder here, security settings. Account policies. There we go, account policies. and password policy. And then enforce password history. Right now, my computer is set to 0 passwords remembered. And it says you should change it to 24 or more. So double click, change it to 24, apply. There we go. So there's a question that was asked, is there any easier way to get to a specific setting? That's a good question. Mr. Rodriguez, do you have any suggestions on this?
It really depends on the setting. Unfortunately, and with registry editor and group policy editor, you kind of, it's mostly user interface type. So you're going to go through a GUI and have to select things.
So in this particular case, there's a bunch of L1 things. Let's go to another one and see if we can manage to get through that. Anyone? I'm going to page through a few. And how about this one? Ensure an object label is set to no one. I haven't done this beforehand, so I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm going to click on that. So level 1. All right. It says the recommended setting is no one. Good. Back to, there's computer configurations. So right click. Well, we should go back to the GP, group policy. Group policy editor. It's opened up here. And this says policies. So Windows settings, security settings, local policies this time, and user rights assignment, and modify an object label. And so there's no one in there. So that's good. So nobody can do that. Now, if there was somebody listed in there, then you could remove them. In this case, nobody's listed. Now, this could be an example of, yeah, remediation. I'm looking at what's in the chat here. Remediation is it means to fix, basically. So if you have a problem, you need to fix it. Now, really, what it's you don't necessarily know if you have a problem. So you want to check that too. But in this case, there's no issue. Yeah, and Chris says he can't hear anything. Everybody else can hear, right? Okay.
Mr. Bush, going back to that question about is there a quicker way to do some of these things?
Yeah.
So there is to do a lot of these things, and that's, if you learn PowerShell would help you. You can do a lot of the stuff through command line, and you can write scripts to look up various settings and make sure that they're set certain ways, and even set some of the things. So for any of those that are extremely motivated, probably not something you would learn tonight or tomorrow, but PowerShell is a good option for that.
Thank you. That's good. That's really good. Actually, and I don't know if you can see the chat, Mr. Rodriguez, can you? Because in some of the chat, there's shell and are still learning it, but
yeah,
so,
it's not necessarily for the faint of heart, but I'm sure a lot of you guys are quite capable, and it's an extremely powerful shell allows you to do a lot of different things that will be extremely useful if you're in a situation like you're going to be in, where you're going to need to be able to get answers quickly and run tests against the configuration quickly. It's a tool that will allow you to create pretty powerful scripts that can interrogate just about anything inside a Windows environment.
yeah, and I think the kind of what Mr. Rodriguez says is that the other advantage you have is when you've had experience through a few years of doing these competitions, you start to see where the things that are most often the Cyber Patriots is doing versus some of these other things that may not be done. On the other hand, you can think about those really hard, like I can't figure it out, I can't find one kind of thing. And this could be wise because it's something obscure, and that gives you a chance then to at least, like we said, never give up. I'm going to look for the printer one. This one actually was, you see it's an L2. It says prevent users from installing print drivers is set to enabled. So I was explaining that you want to go for the low-hanging fruit, the L1, but I believe we had last competition. This was one of the ones that was on it. Is that Mr. Wood's bath time?
Sorry, I have a meeting.
I hear some audio.
For Cyber Patriots.
Who's talking? That was Joy? Okay, well, thanks. We got, anyway, it's all right. Okay, so here's, prevent users from installing printer drivers. So it is an L2, but it was scored. So I'm going to click on this one. And what does it say? The recommended setting is enabled. And let's find this one. It does give you a description in the group policy settings in the registry, and we really haven't gone over the registry very much. But here we go again. The group policy. So GP edit, and then we have policies, Windows setting. There we go. Windows settings again. Security settings. So I have a feeling you're always going to see in the security settings a lot of things. And local policies. Security options. And devices. There you go. Print to prevent users from installing printer drivers, and it says it's disabled. And this says it should be switched to enable. So my computer allows it. So I'm going to click enabled, and I've just made my computer more secure. You have to be an admin to install a printer driver. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. But I want to open it up for some last minute questions for tomorrow's competition before we end this. So anybody have any questions?
Mr. Bush, I'd like to go ahead and add a few things in here about the topic of the CIS and using the CIS benchmarks.
Please do.
So, yeah, the CIS benchmarks are very important, guys. These vulnerabilities and security policies and things that you're seeing in these competitions, a lot of these, they don't make these things up just out of the off the cuff. A lot of the stuff is known and proven and established best practices, which the benchmark is going to point out those best practices for you. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff. And if you're going to be in the security business, you got to get kind of comfortable with that. But you're going to see that as you go through these competitions, a lot of the items that show up on the competitions may very well show up in these books. So one thing I would recommend is kind of go through the books and outline or mark down the ones that you've seen before. Because remember, it has the remediation in there so that if you see it again and you don't quite remember how to fix it, or if you've seen them before, a good chance that they'll be there again, so you'll know how to look for it. You can kind of go through use it when you go through your checklists and identify the items that you've seen before, and while you're at it, kind of look at some of the other ones, flip through them and check for some of the other obvious low-hanging fruit ones as Mr. Bush recommended. So it's a very useful tool. I recommend getting comfortable with it. Back to you, Mr. Bush.
Yeah, so that's great. And I know there's some people having trouble with audio, and I'm not sure why. But if you use the dial-in for the phone, it seems to work. And I'm not sure why some of the people are, I guess, trying to use the computer for audio and it's not working. But maybe we'll try to get this back up onto the YouTube drive, and then you guys can just listen to it. And I guess I'm going to now stop the recording, I think. I can figure out how to do it. This is Mrs.